So, something for the neophytes and for the people that tend to have trouble at work or having trouble, had trouble, and they're kind of lost, like what's going on. This can happen a lot in life, regardless of how smart or capable you are or whatever. Sometimes our brains just get overloaded, but maybe our senses aren't overloaded. Sometimes the senses are overloaded, but our brain isn't overloaded and stuff. But like sometimes, like there's a video I made about like where there's an analogy for life with a chessboard and stuff, and um, it talks about how things can sometimes be how small things can sometimes be so big and unmanageable and stuff because the brain is there's something in the brain that's just rejecting all, your ability to focus on the essential details of what's going on and stuff and blocking out, and it's not blocking out relevant stuff. So covering the question, what gets people fired into hard times at work? Now, as a premise, well, not everybody gets a helpful explanation and stuff. When I was 13, taking on my first job, I was like around 12 or 13, I didn't really get a helpful explanation at all. I didn't think much about just taking my skateboard to work and after finishing the day's tasks and whatever. Like it's just, I, 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 I didn't always say or do things with a lot of common sense when I was 12 or 13 years old, but I was I was a very playful kid. I like to I like to play a lot, and so I would bring my skateboard here, throw snowballs there and stuff. I like to horse around at work when I was 12 or 13. It was a construction job. There's a lot of horsing around, and my stepdad at the time owned the company that we were working for. Yeah, but you live and you learn. I'm 34 now. I'm clearly a much better, much like more mature person than I was back then. Um, um, I have to laugh at that. So, um, so as a priming segue, there's about 37 different easy to make mistakes you need to avoid in order to keep your job, vocation, or career, regardless of what that is. You are not only being kept accountable by the people around you, but the virtual electronic systems as well, and these things all need to be comfortable with you working well. But the people you work with will remember how you made them feel, and they usually control the systems that evaluate, boost, shut down, deflate, promote, or fire you. Okay? Strong people build themselves off of wins, but even stronger people have the ability to come back stronger after both wins and losses. Okay? But you need to know the leveling mechanisms are still there and stuff, and you gotta know how to fight them or answer them or deal with them and stuff. But you have your rights. You got to protect your rights too. One of the reasons being is that leveling mechanisms often involve alcohol, so you got to be careful. These 37 or so concepts span certain very consequential habits that affect one's popularity at work, to where even though they perform well, they might still get fired, passed up for a pay raise, passed up for promotion, etc. And now, just to certify my opinion, my speculative opinion here for people who are saying this is speculation, and so I haven't been let go from a job or laid off in years. Okay, years, many years. Okay, because I know the subjects I deal in and stuff. I took it very seriously and used my free time to learn these subjects. Everything from now, I have 2 mathematics degrees, one of which has a concentration in operations research, 2-year concentration and stuff. So aside from the operational research aspect and stuff, that also means I know the economics and the statistics, the business and stuff. And I mean, of course, I studied the law too and stuff. And I studied sciences. And I have 4 leadership certificates. Okay, I've been running businesses for like 12 years now. Okay, I know what the hell I'm doing. So trust me here. Okay, I'm not going to say I'm an expert and I know every little thing and stuff, but my opinion is worth something. You should consider it. Okay, you should compare it to standing ideas, or if you need ideas and stuff, use them and stuff. This is what I'm making for you. I'm making this to help you. Okay. But yes, there is no reduction of life. So there is no reduction of the demands at work, but one can use tools, systems, delegates, etc., to make them, raw materials as well. And so to make them easier, one being their brain. My upcoming book goes more in depth to this topic. Okay. because it is very hard to procure this material. It's a lot of research and synthesizing, observing and reflecting and sweat and learning from the mistakes of idiots and stuff. I've seen some real idiots in the workplace. Man, I saw some dude tear up a shelf with a forklift and stuff. I, you couldn't yell at him enough times to make him stop, but he kept going with the freaking forklift tongs and it was so ate up. Anyway, but yeah, this is quite an extensive topic. In this series, we're going to talk about do's and don'ts, how to keep your job, and I guess I'm going to throw in how to get a job and get promoted and stuff. These are all distinct concepts we have to master and stuff. These might still fail, so I might have to make a lesson series on traction and handling, business, like work traction, business handling, traction with situations, traction with people, and the handling of business and stuff. Because as an employee there, you're still handling business. You're just handling it within the scope of your duties and responsibilities, and you respect that boundary and stuff. You might have to fight for those boundaries too. Okay, but for people who wish to know this subject, which I believe is a very essential subject, you should master it and stuff, because this world will chew you up and spit you out. Okay. I've said this to many people, and I've been saying it for years. Life is a different energy than you are. It's going to keep fighting you for that reason. It's going to knock you on your ass. It's going to bust you up and stuff. It's not always going to let you breathe. It doesn't want you to breathe. Okay. It wants you to quit. It wants you to get out and keep up and stuff. You must get back up and resist, fight and stuff, no matter what. Okay. Because I promise you, once you master that ability and stuff, it becomes really easy and smooth sailing and stuff. And then you don't really have problems anymore. I've been on both sides of the fence, I know. Okay? So, there.